All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Good, goal setting. What is, in your own words, what is a goal? A plan? Okay, good.
Something to look forward to.
So we have a plan, something to look forward to. Anything else?
Something to keep you motivated.
Good, keeps you motivated.
I guess plans for the future or something.
Okay. Plan for the future. Anything else to add to this? It's a pretty good overall description. Okay. So our goals essentially are a target, like you said, a plan. Something that we're looking forward to in the future, something that is going to motivate us to keep going. I like this quote. If you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. Okay? Is that the kind of success that we want though?
No.
Probably not, okay? And you could be 100% successful at hitting nothing, but you're still hitting nothing. And so we want to make sure that we are working towards our goals. So we're going to talk about how do we establish goals today. And we're going to talk about how we can effectively measure our goals, okay? It provides us that focus, that kind of that roadmap of to where we're going to be going. And it's going to help you as you set goals, whether they're small or large. It should help you in your personal life as well as your professional life. So it's important to set goals and for them to be effective, which is what we're going to talk about more in detail today. So things about our goals, one reason why we have, why it's important to set goals and the influences that goals can have in our lives is it builds our self-confidence. How many of y'all are procrastinators out there? Be honest. Don't procrastinate holding up your hand. Okay? I know you can. So what do we do as procrastinators?
Sit around
We wait till the last minute, right? Because, I can always get that done tomorrow. Or we're going to talk a little bit more about time management later on in the semester. But your to-do list keeps growing and growing and growing, does it not? And so then that gets a little overwhelming because you look at your to-do list, everything you have to do, and what is your typical reaction? Forget it, I'm done with it, freak out, I like to eat or take a nap. It's still going to be there when I wake up. And so as we accomplish our goals, we have that little like hooray or Yahoo moment, I've done this, and it kind of motivates us and builds our self-confidence so we can go and tackle the next task. So oftentimes when you're looking at your to-do list, one that I do is I like to look at something and fix one little thing, do one little project, get that done. I get that little kind of like boost of happiness that I cross one thing off my to-do list, and then I get excited. I'm like, okay, one more thing, what else can I cross off? And so it kind of builds a little bit of that self-confidence. It provides that path. Now, do we always stick to the same path? No, what happens sometimes? Life changes. Life gets in the way.
Life doesn't follow your plan.
Life doesn't always follow your plan, but by having that goal, it helps you get back on that path a little bit faster when life does get in the way. One of the things that I have a really hard time doing, but I have to do it sometimes, is kind of counsel students to take a break from school. I mean, it kind of sounds weird for your professor to say, hey, why don't you take a break from school? But sometimes if things are not going great on your personal side, you don't have the focus and the attention or the ability to show up and be in class and have your full attention because you're thinking about what's going on over here. Sometimes it's beneficial to just take a break, fix that, and then come back when you're ready so you can focus. I think I'm a perfect example of that. I graduated from high school. I came here for a year, and not that life wasn't going great, but it's just school wasn't for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So rather than sit in classes that I didn't know what I was going to do, I took a year break. And that turned into 3 years. That turned into 7 years. And then eventually 7 years later, I came back to finish my degree in hotel management. And I always wonder, like, what path would I be on had I finished school right through? And so I don't want to think about that path because I love the path that I'm on. But having those goals, you know, I set a goal for myself when I first started teaching in 2015. In all my introduction videos of all classes and whatnot, I do my whole education spiel. And I said I wanted to have my master's degree by 2020. Well, when I started in 2015, 2020 seemed like a pretty far distance. Yeah. Well, now 2020 is here, and I will finish my master's degree on May 10th before I go to graduation for you all here at St. Philip's College. And so if I had just said, oh, someday I'm going to get a degree, a master's degree, someday I'll get to it, I don't know if I'd be here ready to graduate with my master's in hospitality. So that's the whole point of goals. It kind of provides that clearer path. And I think it's important to have a variety of your goals. Not all your goals need to be work related. Not all your goals need to be personal related. Okay, get some of your personal, get your hobbies in there, get your balance everything out. Because if you're all work, you're gonna burn yourself out. If you're all play, you're not gonna have the money to complete or to support your playing habits. You've got to go, and your hobbies. You've got to go to work to kind of get that money so that you can keep doing that. So you got to have this balance, and the balance is different for every single one of us. Okay. So how we set our goals. The first thing we're going to look at is our long-term goals. So think of this as kind of like a ladder or a mountain. Oh, I'm going to use mountain in the future. I'm going to change this because I relate better to mountains. But our long-term goals is a mountain or the ladder. That's the very top. And our short-term goals are the rungs that get us up there. Okay? And so when you're thinking about your goals, you want to focus first on those long-term, big picture, 5 to 10 years down the line. And then your short-term goals are 1 to 2 years at a time, and they go to help support and build you up towards you work towards your long-term goals. The biggest thing is to just get started. The biggest thing is to actually write your goals down. How many of y'all have a friend that you like to go and eat new places with, or you like to go and do different things and hike with, or go out and try to travel, or anybody have friends like that? Right? I have some friends, and they're every day sending me something. This looks cool. This looks cool. I'm like, yeah, it does. So let's take a moment and let's actually put all these cool things together into one little location, because eventually I want to do all these cool things. And so I feel like with social media, it's so easy. You see that, oh my gosh, that looks so cool, I'm going to save it. How many of us actually go back to our saves? Some of us, yeah. I'll see it. I'm like, oh, that'll be a good lesson, something to add to a lesson in class. Save it. And it gets buried. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. Okay, so what I want you to do on a piece of paper, everyone do this, either a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil, doesn't matter, I don't care, some writing utensil. I want you to write 3 to 5 things that you want to accomplish. Big picture. Big picture. You don't put your name on it, no? Yeah, within your lifetime. So big picture. It can be more than 10 years down the road. It can be something that's going to happen 5 to 10 years down the road. So big picture. I want you to write 3 to 5 things that you want to accomplish. Once you have your 3 to 5 things, I want you to rank them 1, 2, and 3. 1 that you think is the most important, the biggest thing that you want to do, number 2, and then number 3. They don't have to be in the order that you wrote them. You're just brainstorming when you're writing, and then I want you to think about which one you think is the most important, second most important, and the third most important, or fourth or fifth, depending on how many you have. Would anybody like to share one of their goals or one of their things they want to accomplish? Yes.
Own and operate a successful business.
Okay. Own and operate successful business. Okay. So now I want you to pick one of your goals and I want you to write it underneath on its own line. Kind of give it a little bit of space, write it on its own line underneath. So whichever one of the 3 or 5 that you have, write it by itself underneath. Okay? And then I want you to draw 3 lines that go off of it, just like this. Three lines that go off of it, just like this. Okay? Now, let's talk about annual goal. Okay? Is this a good goal? Yeah, it's very valid. It's very valiant. It's very valid. It's a great thing to work for. Okay? But what we're going to try to work on is making our goals smart. Okay? And we're going to use this acronym SMART, SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Okay? So, is this goal relevant? Is it relevant? Is it relevant to you?
Yes.
You're wearing a chef uniform, so I'm assuming that you like to cook.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is definitely relevant. Check. Okay? Is it achievable?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is there any time base in here?
No.
Any relation, anything mentioned to time? So how can we do that? How can we add that? Okay, so what is our time?
Time frame 5 years.
Okay. So within 5 years of graduation. Okay, so now we've got time. Is it measurable? It's successful, which means he's making a profit.
Yes.
So if he's not making a profit, is he successful?
No.
No. So that is how we measure it. And it is very specific. Only thing we can do to make it even more specific is own and operate successful business. Business is kind of generalized.
Yes.
So do you want to own a restaurant or a food truck?
I really want to be like a personal chef, not necessarily. I want to provide chef-like services.
So I'm going to put that back in there, business. So own and operate a successful personal chef business within 5 years of graduation. Okay, and so this is where we make the goals smart. Not smart as in there's dumb goals. Okay, smart as in we have this acronym, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Okay, so for your homework assignment, you're going to create 5 long-term goals and 5 short-term goals total. Not 5 short-term for each long-term, just 5 and 5. Okay, we're going to go over at the end of class, so don't worry, we'll go a little bit more detail on it. But as you write your goals, I want you to have this acronym in mind. If you want to, you can put like 13 minutes at the video. So if you need to go back to listen to the video at this part, we're at about 13-minute mark. So you can go to that, go directly to the video that I'll post online for that. But I want you to make sure that your goals that you're writing are all SMART, okay? Because that is one of the criteria. Here's another goal, speaking of mountains. So this summer, I had an opportunity to climb to Guadalupe Peak, which is the tallest point in Texas. It's in Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And along the way, I decided that before I'm 50, I want to climb to the top of every state of all 50 states before I turn 50. Okay? So, is that specific?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it measurable?
Yes.
I know exactly what those points are. There's a thing on Wikipedia for that. Is it achievable?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it relevant to me?
Yes.
Is it relevant to any of y'all?
No.
Okay. That was a very quick no. And is it time-based?
Yes.
Before I'm 50. Okay, so those are SMART goals. It just gives you a little bit more direction in how you work towards your goals. So your goals kind of build up to kind of create what we call a life plan, an overall life plan. We have 5 different segments of our life plan. We have education, career, social, financial, and just activities, kind of hobbies that you have. Okay. So you all are doing education right now. You're here in class. You're taking one of our 5 degrees, or maybe a couple of our 5 degrees. How many of you are not aware of our certificates? When I say we have a certificate like we have right here, how many of y'all do not know what I'm talking about? Okay, so every one of our associate's degrees, which is an AAS, Associate of Applied Science, every one of our AAS degrees have certificates associated with them. They're kind of like building blocks and stepping stones that will lead you to your AAS, okay? And so the other really cool thing about it is that, let's say, how many of y'all are culinary arts majors? Okay. How many, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up if you're gonna also go for the baking and pastry arts degree. So both culinary and baking and pastry. Okay, a few of y'all. So you can put your hands down. If you put your hand down, we have certificates in the baking and pastry arts program. So you don't have to do the whole thing. You could just do breads, you can do an artisan's breads certificate where you just take those classes and then you have that certificate of completion, which you can put on your resume. We have a whole certificate on chocolates and confections. We have a certificate that is on pies, tea cakes, and tarts and plated desserts. So the point is that you don't have to spend the entire time doing a whole other associate's degree. You can focus just on one thing that you want, that you feel would go towards owning and operating a successful business. I mean, you could be the personal chef business that makes the most amazing bread. That's your brand. That's what you're known for. And then your food is great too. But if you want to take the certificate on artisan breads, then you can have that kind of to put into your wheelhouse. Same thing with the hotel side. So if you're culinary arts, we have a food and beverage management within the hotel industry. And so a certificate under the hotel management program. So you can take just those classes, and a lot of them count for the different degrees. So if you've already taken it, then you're all set. Take a couple extra classes, have that certificate, and then you can put that in your resume. As a culinary arts major, you have a certificate in hotel management, food and beverage operations. Then there's amazing restaurants in hotels. I think oftentimes people get stuck thinking that restaurants are brick and mortar standalone restaurants, but any one of us can walk into any hotel downtown that has a restaurant, and we can go and eat in the restaurant. We don't have to be a guest of the hotel. And so I think that would be something that you can add to your resume, that if you want to get a job in a hotel and you have a certificate saying that you've taken classwork or coursework that's kind of giving you an introduction to how things work in a hotel that's a little bit different than a standalone restaurant, it just makes you a little bit more marketable. So if you go to alamo.edu and then click on the St. Philip's College link, and then in the search bar that has a little magnifying glass, you can type in any one of our degrees. You can type in hotel, hospitality, you can type in culinary, baking and pastry, you can just do like baking, and you can do restaurant. And so what you're doing is you're looking for keywords on the St. Philip's College website, and then there's a link to every single one of these degrees to our program. So it'll have the full name of the program. Click on it. It'll show you the AAS as well as the certificates as well. Cool thing is, if you finish a certificate, you can apply to graduate, you can get a cap and gown, you can walk the stage, and you get that certificate. And it's a building block until you get that associate degree. You can walk, if you get 6 certificates and a degree, you can walk 7 times. Okay? You can get 7 cap and gowns. Right? We want to celebrate those successes. And that's what the point of the certificates are. You don't have to walk. You can apply to graduate and get the certificate. You don't have to go to graduation. That's just the ceremony. You'll still get your certificate in the mail. You don't actually have to attend graduation to get the actual piece of paper. That's just the part of the ceremony that celebrates your accomplishments. Okay, so I know a lot of students will get the certificates, and then they'll wait to get the AAS when they actually walk the stage and get their degree.
So then you gotta apply to get the certificate.
Yep, you apply to get the certificate. So if you go and click on any one of those, you're like, hey, I've done all those classes, go talk to your advisor. Typically, they only allow you to, like, I think, do 2 or 3 things in one graduation. So if you're going to get like 4 certificates and an associate's degree, you got to get those as you finish the certificates. Okay. So education, career. Some things that are career driven. Some people want power. They want to be that general manager of a restaurant. They want to be that executive chef. They just want that status of I am the best.
Yep.
I am the best, okay? And then some people, they just love to learn. They want to have, like, keep gathering information in their career. And then self-satisfaction. So how many of y'all like to cook for other people? Okay? How many of you, like, watch people when they're eating your food? Not, like, creepily stare at them, but just kind of maybe at the corner of your eye. And then what happens when they close their eyes, they take a bite, they close their eyes, they kind of smile, they like little nod their head, or if you're one of my friends, he does a little happy dance when he's eating your food, right? So all of that, what does that do for you on the inside? It brings you joy. And so that's that self-satisfaction. So you may not be in it for the power or to be the best restaurant in San Antonio. You can also be a combination of all of this, but self-satisfaction, I think, especially in our industry, is kind of unique because we work so hard. And you almost have to have a certain level of that self-satisfaction to keep you going and moving past when things get really tough. For social and spiritual, so these are all different kind of categories that you can kind of think of different goals to help build your life plan. So social, your spiritual, so, you know, is your goal to have a family and to have 3.5 kids before, like, the average, I don't know, what's the average nowadays? Like 2.5 kids per family? What's that?
How's that happen?
No, it's like, you know, they have the whole population. They have the American dream to have a house and a 2-car garage and 2.5 kids. Not that you're going to have half a kid, but, you know, take the whole population divided by whatever. You know, kind of where. So if that's your goal, then go for it. Put it down as a long-term goal. I mean, you've got to wait at least 9 months probably to start building your family. But those are some different goals that you might put in there. Of course, financial is something that's important. Maybe not as important for everybody, but for some people it is. Then the activities that you like to do. So these are all kind of categories that will help you start generating ideas of how to build your long-term goals and then your short-term goals off of them. So we put value to our goals. The 2 different types of value is intrinsic and extrinsic. So looking at this up here, what does extrinsic have to do with? Materialism, things that you get from the outside. Good, yeah. So things that you get from the outside, things that people give you. So of course I put money up here, but we also have, you know, awards, any kind of recognition that somebody is going to give you. That's that extrinsic value, okay? Intrinsic value comes from within. That's that example of watching somebody eat your food and then you just feel full of joy because they just ate your food, okay? Or having that guest walk away from the front desk completely satisfied and thanking you for fixing the situation, and you have that joy in your heart because you've made somebody else's day that much better, okay? So that's that intrinsic value that comes from within. I am going to ask you on the assignment that you're going to identify the goal? Is it intrinsic in nature or is it extrinsic in nature? Okay, so think about that. This is at minute like 24 and a half. So if you want to write that in your notes, where we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic, you need to go back to this video about 24 and a half. All right. The last thing we're going to do with our goals is we're going to prioritize them. We've got to put things in an order. These 3 short-term goals, they may not be working on them all at the same time. It may be that you've got to achieve this short-term goal before you can move on to this short-term goal, okay, or this one. And so you have to kind of prioritize what you're going to work on first. Otherwise, that to-do list seems so massive that it just seems overwhelming that you don't even start. You just give up before you even start. We do have to trade off some things sometimes, unfortunately. So y'all are all sitting in this class right now. What could you be doing if you weren't sitting in my class learning about how to set goals?
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
What's that?
Being at home with kids.
Being at home with your children. Sleeping. Say it again. Being with your family. There's something else over here I can't remember. Anything else? What's that? Eating. All of these things are things that you could be doing if you weren't sitting in class. But your goal, I'm assuming, is that you want to finish your degree. You want to graduate with your degree or certificate that we have, one of the ones that we offer. So you're trading off all of those things so that you can be here to work towards your goal. Now, I don't know about any of y'all. Have y'all thought about, like what life is going to be like after you graduate and you don't have to come to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I was going crazy this little break.
Oh, the Christmas break? That's maybe a good indication of like what life is going to be like after graduation.
I didn't know what to do with myself.
Anybody else think about it? What do you think life is going to be like?
I think the big thing that I think about is, it's nice to be in class and go to school, but I often think about for the job I have now and my responsibilities, how that's going to increase once I'm out of school and I finally get a bachelor's.
Okay.
What is that life going to be like? What is going to be expected of me? You know, am I going to be able to deal with the pressures that come with having a bachelor's and being so responsible? And that's what I worry.
You are way wiser than I am, because I thought, so you're basically thinking about, now that I have this, my job is going to expect so much more from me, and am I going to be able to? Okay.
I'm going to ask for this income.
Right.
And, you know, if it's $80,000, I have to think about what is the responsibility of someone that makes that kind of money versus someone that makes $40,000 right now.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good point. I used to think that life was going to be like, how am I going to fill all this time? How am I going to fill up all this time where I'm normally sitting in class? I get to sleep in every day. I'm going to get to no. Life, spoiler alert, life is going to fill those spots very, very quickly. Very quickly. But it's cool because then you won't have to trade off as much. Those things that you have been trading off are things that you now can start enjoying by not being in school, having finished and accomplished your goal. Flexibility is required in your life plan. We talked about it. Life is going to happen. Okay? Things are going to get in the way. Something's going to happen, and you're going to need to kind of get derailed. You're going to get derailed a little bit, but by having these goals written down, it'll give you kind of a roadmap back to where you need to go, or you can at least start off where you finished and then come back and work towards that goal. One of my bosses, I used to love this, they're like, we have very rigid flexibility at this job. And I'm like, rigid flexibility? Isn't that like contradicting terms? Rigid is very strict, and then flexibility is very flexible. I'm like, so how do you accomplish that? Well, the idea is that you are focused, but at the same time, when you need to be flexible, you just go ahead and be flexible, and then when it's time to get focused again, you get focused again. It's really important to have that as a trait. Negative baggage. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, okay? But I want you to think about any kind of negative baggage that you might be holding on to, okay? Think about some negative baggage and how it affects your ability to work towards goals. Remember we talked last class about that self-efficacy, that ability to see that you're able to accomplish that task. So if you've got this negative baggage that's kind of weighing down, sometimes it's hard to use that self-efficacy to actually even start working towards your goals. The thing that I really like about this whole topic right here is introducing the fact that consequences are not always negative.
It's just an outcome, right?
Yeah, consequences is just an outcome of the decision that you made. They can be positive. Consequences often have negative connotations, like a negative meaning behind it. And so I want you to kind of switch your thinking a little bit and think about consequences from a positive perspective. If I close my Facebook for 2 hours and I actually study for an exam, what is a potential positive outcome for that?
You'll do very well on
You'll do well on the exam, okay? And so, bless you. So that is, consequences can be positive. So don't always think of them as completely being negative. I'm going to read something to you all in just a moment as soon as this slideshow is done. But just keep in mind that negative baggage, those bad experiences that have happened to us, are things that can help us actually grow from that. I had a student, I'll never forget his name, I'll never forget him. It was 5th grade when I taught 5th grade, so it was not a college student. I taught outdoor education. And so on the first day, students come up, they're from Houston. He'd never been outside his neighborhood. He's in 5th grade, 10 years old, never been outside his neighborhood. And now he's in the middle of the piney woods of East Texas. He's on sensory overload. He has a question about everything. And if the question's happening here, within a split second, it's coming out of his mouth. Okay, he has no filter, no ability to stop. He is just so stinking excited about everything. Like, he had got his flashlight, he's got his bag with his overnight stuff, and he is just so excited. So I worked with him. First lunch, he's asking me all these questions about what we're going to be doing. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't understand you. You have food in your mouth. And so he asked me again. I'm sorry, I still can't understand you. You have food in your mouth. So he asked me a third time. Swallow your food, and then ask me your question. So he did. Asked me the same question, which I heard 3 times before, and I answered his question. So then at dinner that night, I'm talking to a student. He starts talking. I point to him without even looking at him. He gets quiet. I looked at him. I was like, I knew it. You had food in your mouth. So let's practice swallowing your food before you ask questions. Well, the next day, fast forward, he goes to class with a different teacher. And they don't realize that what happens here is going to come out of here a half a second later. So he comes back from class and he's crying. He's upset because he did not get to go canoeing. He wasn't following directions. He was talking too much. And so he didn't get to go canoeing. And it was his only chance to go. And so I told him, I said, look, there's no negativity at my lunch table. You can sit right over here. All of our decisions have consequences, positive or negative. We can't change what happened this morning. But what we can change is what's going to happen this afternoon. So I looked at the schedule and I was like, look, this afternoon you have an opportunity to go horseback riding in the Pioneer class. And so we don't want to miss that opportunity like you did for the canoeing. So what are some things that we can do? And so we talked about it. By the time lunch was over, he was back at my table eating dessert with all of us. And he got to go horseback riding that next day. I'll never forget him because he broke my retainer on the last morning. So every time I think about my bottom teeth being a little bit crooked, I'm like, yeah, that happened. No, I'm just kidding. I've forgiven him. But we can't change what happens in the past. And so you think about some things that have happened. I can't change them. And life is not always sunshines and rainbows. I can't remember if I talked about this last class or not with that positive efficacy. But sometimes life is tough. And it's like straight up sucks. But if we can figure out what's happening and what we can do, how many of y'all seen Frozen 2, the second one?
Never seen that
Twice.
one.
Oh my gosh, I saw it twice too in the theaters. It was super cute. And there's a song, and it talks about doing the next right thing. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but what I can do is the next right thing. And so whatever I need to do is the next right thing is what I can do. And then once I get that done, I'll do the next right thing after that. And so that's kind of what I just thought about when I was thinking about this consequences and making choices. Any questions about this? Nope. Okay. So your homework. You're going to access the homework through Canvas, and then you're going to complete the table. I'm going to pull it up right now so we can all look at it together. You're going to complete the table and then resubmit it through Canvas. This is going to be due before you come to class on Wednesday next week. Okay? So, any other questions, comments, concerns before we move on? No? Okay.